Hey, it's Drybear. And there aren't any news items around the Subnautica 2, unknown world / Krafton situation, but there is an update on Krafton specifically as a publisher, one of the biggest publishers / developers in the world, and their recent forays into, having bad blood with unknown worlds of Subnautica 2 has brought them into the spotlight, and this new development that we're going to talk about today makes even more question marks appear in our heads. And that is the news that Krafton put out a major announcement late last night that they are shifting their focus to AI development. Now, Krafton has a lot of fingers and a lot of pies, not just in their own games that they develop or games that they got big on, as well as Subnautica 2 Unknown Worlds. They also happen to hold on to Tango Gameworks, one of my favorite development studios. If you haven't played any of their games like Hi-Fi Rush, if you like Resident Evil or Silent Hill and you haven't played the Evil Within series, you definitely need to. But the fact that Krafton owns so many companies and so many publishing houses, this is actually an interesting note that's worth talking about. And that is, they're shifting their focus to AI first, and they're building a 100 billion won GPU cluster to support this effort. And for the uncultured like me, this is a conversion of the won. So this 100 billion in South Korean won converts to about 70 million USD, about 59 million euro, 52 million British pound. You see that. So if whatever your local currency is, you can see about how much that investment is. And what's interesting about the wording here is they're not saying that they're committing to using more AI in their processes. They're actually stating that they are now an AI first company, which means that their primary goal in all of their operations is to integrate and best utilize AI systems, tools, and other things. And they're not kidding either. So there are also reports about internally how they have put a freeze on new hirings. They're not hiring any new people right now across the board. They've been working with their HR department to integrate this as well. And the joint consortium led by Krafton and SK Telecom being selected by Korea's Ministry of Science among the builders of government level AI models. And Krafton is joining NVIDIA's next week GeForce Gamer Festival in Seoul to showcase their new PUBG AI co-playable character. But what does that mean? Like, there's so many different ways to apply AI right now. There's a lot of different tools that use AI that I think are great additions to the world in general. You know, things that Adobe uses to identify different levels of contrast and highlight images that could be a functional tool for artists to use to speed up their process if they use digital tools at all. I think the AI systems that sift through a lot of just raw data are super useful too. Like when you look something up and it can read a lot of information and try and congeal it or summarize it for you. That saves time in a lot of cases, but there's also some generative AI or AI systems that replace, human roles outright that have a much stronger connotation that people tend to not like in general. So, what is it they're trying to do or accomplish with the AI in general? So Krafton declared a transition to an AI first corporation. Like, they are AI first. To that end, it will build a graphics processing unit cluster with an investment of about 70 million USD starting next year, invest 30 billion won annually to support employees' use of AI tools and training. So an in-house data center that can be used for all of their AI processing, training on all the people so that everyone uses AI in their day-to-day work, and use and implementation of AI tools in pretty much every area of the company as well. Going on to say that it will be the future of work, the company, and the individual that transitions to AI. More specifically, Krafton will automate work centered on agentic AI, and employees will focus on creative activities and solving complex problems as we fully implement an AI-centered management system. Through AI, we will accelerate employees' growth and leap forward as a corporation that expands the organization's challenge areas. Going on to say that they plan to expand the scope of AI utilization across technology, organization, and culture, and apply AI throughout its management and decision-making process. Using this as a springboard, it aims to raise company-wide productivity to respond swiftly to the rapidly rapidly changing global market environment and, based on Agentic AI, maximize employees' creativity to secure sustainable competitiveness and growth engines, which is kind of interesting too, because you have to kind of question, like, if they're focused on maximizing employee creativity, why is it that they're, freezing hiring and focusing on building up their AI systems rather than getting real people on board that can support that kind of effort? And they even say, like, I just got to get this information out. And the infrastructure supports multi-step tasks that require sophisticated reasoning and iterative planning, and serves as a foundation that accelerates the implementation of their agentic AI. So a lot of this is going to focus on project management, person-to-person management, scheduling management, basically what producers do, and like PAs and stuff like that. They want to make all of that AI. So like when things are due, checking things off when they're turned in, correspondence between different groups and departments, making sure everyone's on board, all of that. They want all of that procedural stuff to be AI rather than a person. Even positing that it will strengthen research and development and in-game services. By the second half of 2026, it plans to complete a foundation for an AI platform and data integration and automation to establish a company-wide AI operations infrastructure. Now, it's worth talking a little bit on this topic in general, as usually the biggest difference between, and I'm using this anytime you paint with a wide brush, there's always going to be exceptions. But when you're talking about the difference between like an 800 person development team and a 40 to 100 person development team, a lot of that comes down to good producers and production staff. Like generally, if you're looking at like a Fortnite versus like a Kingdom Come Deliverance, the big difference there is that when you want to create content at the rate that Fortnite does, you talk about like Kuro or Hoyoverse or these companies that do a lot of big releases for their games on a very rapid cadence. The difference usually isn't getting a lot more developers, though that helps. The biggest difference, as anyone who works in management or business knows, is proper planning, production, and having good producers so that everyone's talking, that you're eliminating problems before they become problems and getting people to be on the right page, right? Make sure rigging has had a chance to look over the 3D model before it gets handed over to rigging so that they can say, hey, this bone has to be there, so don't slow me down by trying to model it this way so it works. Make sure that animators can talk with the concept artists, so say like, hey, we need these joints to move, so when you draw these proportions, make sure that they have that kind of idea in mind. Same thing for like game design. If game design talks more to game programming, programming can say, hey, don't design it this way, because even though it sounds cool, it might work really poorly, so let's keep things moving. So generally, when you're talking about like a, small to medium-sized development team, trying to scale that up to a very large size, the biggest bottleneck in a lot of cases can be good production staff that allow you to make those kinds of moves without making tons of mess and waste along the way as you screw up. So I can definitely see, at least from a logical standpoint, why you would want to improve your workforce by increasing your production and management. But there's a lot of questions that go into this as well. Is if AI is driving the product management for what they're working on, who's overseeing the AI? Like, what if the AI ends up causing failures, right? No matter what model you're talking about in AI, there's always a failure rate on how many times it makes the wrong assumption, or it figures the wrong thing out, or says the wrong thing, or does the wrong thing. There are cases where, like, AI has helped people, write really nasty things to other people or end up taking their lives because of what AI says. Like, there's just so many issues that go along with that including AI as part of your management process is crazy. And this comes on the heels of the whole Subnautica 2 drama as well, because, Krafton was saying that Subnautica 2 was mismanaged, was not being shipped properly, didn't reach the goals that they thought it needed to reach, and that's why Krafton blocked Subnautica 2 from releasing this year. And then right after that, a couple months later, Krafton's saying, okay, for our production and management, we're just going with AI because people can't do it right, and we want to save money on that front as well. The next thing to dive into is more of like an outside of Krafton perspective as well. Is we've already seen how they want to go to the NVIDIA AI conventions. They are working with the South Korean government to implement AI, which probably is getting them special tax breaks or tax cuts, or maybe even kickbacks from the government because they're investing in new technology. And even here you can say in their official post that they are centered on the use of AI Learning Hub and by operating AI Roundtable and AI Hackathon. For its research and development organization made up of AI specialists, it decided to introduce a separate personnel operating framework aligned with the direction of strengthening expertise. So some of this might just be because they want to, rub elbows with some of the AI companies out there in the world, and that it's not actually about trying to make their products more viable or the companies that they're working with indirectly. And you have to wonder too, if this is driven primarily by business or revenue, what's going to happen to all the companies that Krafton owns, right? Unknown Worlds, my little, the special spot in my heart for Tango Gameworks that does games that I really like that end up getting bought by Krafton and haven't published anything since really, other than Ghostwire Tokyo, I guess. But what's going to happen to all their indie teams and all of that? Like, if Krafton is now focused on everything AI, small number of people that make very high-level decisions, what's going to happen to their games and PUBG and Subnautica and all this else, because that's their main focus. They're even saying that they want the AI adoption to lead to new title development and innovation projects to build a growth system that leads to an expanded game production pipeline and the creation of new titles. So it's not just about making things more efficient for them. They want to make new games based on this AI focus. Now, this gets into real murky water, pun intended, because we have Subnautica on stream. But in general, like this gets crazy, because I think a lot of times when people see generative AI that is making creations, specifically not automating, very monotonous tasks in general, is oftentimes it hits that uncanny valley of just, it's very obviously AI. It feels kind of awkward and uncomfortable. Details are missed. And so you probably could make an argument where AI can help with the development of new titles, but some part of me is just really struggling with the idea that you could automate that process, right? With AI and having AI as part of the new IP development. Making new IPs in games is extremely hard. And there's a reason why our industry right now is focused heavily on remakes, remasters, and re-releases, right? Like, how many times has Skyrim re-released? We did a remaster and remake of Oblivion. There's like 3 or 4 different versions of Dark Souls. All these old games that we played a long time ago are getting facelifted and re-released. Why? Because those IPs already have brand equity, they're recognizable names, and so when you release a new title with a price tag on it, people already know it. Like when you release Oblivion Remaster or Remake, people are like, oh, I remember Oblivion, I played that a long time ago, let me buy it up, without having to invest in getting people involved in a brand new title they've never heard of, a new IP they've never seen. Then the CEO of Krafton says, through the AI first strategy, Krafton will broaden growth opportunities for each individual employee. So the CEO of Krafton is saying that each individual employee will benefit from having AI as part of it, expand creative attempts centered on the player experience, and lead AI innovation across the gaming industry. We will establish operating standards for working in an AI-centered way and present a best practice that the global game industry can refer to. So this is, I mean, man, these are pretty bold words here, saying that individual employees will benefit from AI, it'll make creative attempts better in general, and it'll change the whole game industry because of the AI efforts they're putting in. They hope that once they've locked down their special sauce of how to use AI to make and publish games, that the whole game industry will follow suit. I hope that this doesn't happen, but the reality is it won't, because I think no matter what, there are still passionate people that love making games and don't rely on things like this. I also want to highlight a little bit by the Agentic AI, in case no one knows what that actually is. Agentic AI is an AI system that can accomplish a specific goal with limited supervision. It actually kind of simulates a corporation where you have you have leadership roles delegating to lower roles, and then you have the task focus roles. The AI itself consists of AI agents, machine learning models that are separate from each other that mimic human decision making to solve problems in real time. In a multi-agent system, each agent performs a specific subtask required to reach the goal, and their efforts are coordinated through AI orchestration. So again, this is a project level AI system that seeks to simulate the idea of having a team of people that all have different roles, right? There will be the producer AI that tells the environment lead lead AI to start planning out what to do for the next level they're making. Then the environment lead AI will delegate tasks to the environment artist AI that makes rocks, and like they're just trying to simulate all that. And whether they actually have people, the AI creating the assets or not, it sounds like they do from a production level want to get AI involved in all of that so that they can reduce their staffing overhead, save money, and then focus on this new technology. And unlike traditional AI models, agentic AI operates within predefined constraints and requires human intervention, usually for those on the AI models. This agentic AI instead exhibits autonomy, goal-driven behavior, and adaptability. The term agentic refers to these models' agency or their capacity to act independently and purposefully. So again, this isn't like asking ChatGPT what your meal plan should be for tomorrow. This is literally a fully functional, mostly autonomous model that spins up and spins down sub-AI agents inside of it to simulate a working environment. And they set themselves apart by saying that it builds on Gen AI, so generative AI techniques, by using large language models to function in dynamic environments. These are nothing new. Basically, all AI uses one or both of these anyways. While generative models focus on creating content based on learned patterns, agentic AI extends this capability by applying generative outputs towards specific goals. And this is where things get pretty scary too. So a generative AI model like ChatGPT might produce text, images, or code from a single prompt. Agentic AI in general instead can then, you can use a prompt to create something, then use that creation to create something, then use that second creation to generate something else, and then so on and so forth. So it can use that generated content to complete tasks autonomously by calling external tools. Agents can, for example, not only tell you the best time to climb Mount Everest given your work schedule, it can also book you a flight and a hotel. So they're just basically trying to create a fully functional team. So I don't know, man. I think following, when the Krafton Subnautica stuff came out, it was much like, for me, it was like 50-50. It could just be he said, she said drama. As time has been going on, it's been getting more in favor of Unknown Worlds as the court case has been rolling out for Subnautica 2. And then we see this update where Krafton's saying, hey, we're not people first, we're AI first. We want to lower the bottom line, save money, hire less people. Let's put a hiring freeze on. Let's work with HR to make sure that we're planning for AI and focus on AI that is like fully contained and autonomous that can do these things instead, which, kind of adds some interesting color to their statements that Unknown Worlds was mismanaged and can't ship a game, it's not complete, and it's not up to their standards. And you have to question if their standards are more around whether AI can get the job done or experienced, veteran developers can get the job done. I guess that kind of has your answer. But let me know what you think about all this down below, what you think about Krafton going AI first in general, what impact this has on the gaming industry, because Krafton is not a small company. Not only do they develop their own games, but they also have their fingers in a lot of other companies and other games and products, and their statements that they want to do new title creation and replace a lot of roles with this AI system. Where's your head at on this thing down below? If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.